Greetings to all class 8 students. The sentence structure and grammar are extremely important in any academic writing. Even though grammar is also important in informal writing, poor grammar can undermine the credibility of any writer, right? You should make sure that the subjects and the verbs that you are using in your writing, they are agreed to each other to make your writing grammatically correct, right? And without any syntax, that is error-free writing, right? Because correct sentences are easy to understand and they demonstrate your good writing skills, right? Therefore, today we are going to learn subject and verb concord. Concord simply means agreement. Whether the subject agrees with the verb or if the verb agrees the subject, right? So subject and verb agreement is very important concept when it comes to English grammar. Okay, now don't get worried all of you and don't think that why do I need to learn this? Of course you do need. How is this going to help me? Why should I learn the agreement of the subject and the verb? Because, let me tell you the reason. See, many of the MBA entrants, including GET test, students on the questions based on the concepts of subject and verb agreement, right? So, even in your routine verbal communication in English, it is important for you to use the correct subject with the correct verb, right? Hence, it makes more sense to brush up for all of us what is left behind. You must have learned it earlier, but today we are going to simply just brush up. There are very simple rules as to how to make the subject agree to the verb. Okay, so there is no rocket science, so don't get worried at all. Right. Okay. So a sentence is made up of two parts. There are major two parts, the subject and the verb. What is a subject? Subject that tells us what the sentence is about. It can be either a noun or a pronoun, right? Or a proper noun. It can be they, he, she, it, the book, the cars, Mary, right? That is a proper noun. And the verb that represents the action of a sentence. For an example, has taken, have eaten, right? Has sent, or something like that. Now, how to make the subject and the verb agree? Okay, there are 3 steps usually to do that. Let's say first is identify the subject of the sentence. What is the subject? Is it a noun or a pronoun? Then secondly, decide if the subject is singular or plural. For an example, if it's Mary, it's a proper noun. So, you're not Mary, I'm not Mary. Someone else is a Mary and a third person singular. So, we have to use S or ES at the end of the verb. Isn't it? Mary does the work or Mary works. That is the correct way. If I say or if I write Mary work or Mary do this, both sentences are incorrect because Mary is a third person singular subject. Therefore, it will take the singular verb does, right? Okay, and the third step is going to be decide which verb form will match that subject, right? So, by following these 3 steps, you can make the subject agree with the verb. Let's take a small example. The quality of the apples were not good. Okay. Now, what is the subject here? In this sentence, the subject is the quality of the apples, not apples. We are talking about the quality of apples, right? the standard of apples, and the verb is were. Since the subject, the quality of apples, is singular, the singular verb was should have been used instead of were. So the given example is wrong because the subject quality doesn't agree with the verb were. The subject, the quality agrees with the verb was and not with were. So what is going to be the correct sentence? The quality of the apples was not good. Okay, so this is how we make the subjects agree with the verb. Now let's go through this 10 very simple rules of how to make the subject and the verb concord possible. Rule number 1. The subject and the verb must agree in number. Both must be singular or both must be plural. For an example, the car belongs to my brother. The car. We are talking about the car. Therefore, we use belongs. Had it been the cars, then we would have used the cars belong to my brother. So, with the singular verb the car, singular verb belongs. With the plural verb, plural subject the cars, plural verb belong. Okay, another example. They also play football. Should I write they also plays football? No, because they is a plural subject and we use plural verb. They also play football. Right, rule number 2. The number of the subject, be it singular or plural, is not changed by the words or the phrases that come in between the subject and the verb. For an example, one of the boxes, we are talking about one box out of all those that are there, right? So one of the boxes is open. We can't write one of the boxes are open. See, this is a very usual and very common error that students make because students do not give it a second thought that first, see, what is the first step? To find the proper subject in the sentence. Here the boxes are not the subject. We are talking about one box out of those boxes. So that one box becomes the subject. So that means one of the boxes is open, right? Okay. Here the subject one and the verb is are both singular, right? Rule number 3. Some subjects always take a singular verb even though the meaning may seem plural. Right. For an example, someone in the game was not hurt. Okay, someone, we are talking about one person, perhaps somebody, someone, right? All these subjects will always go for singular verb. Please remember, someone, something, somebody. They all talk about one single person amongst the crowd. Okay, so you have to remember they all will go with singular verb. How many singular verbs are there? Is, does, has. Okay, and any verb that takes s or es in the end. So someone in the game were hurt? No. Someone in the game was hurt. That's the correct one. Rule number 4. The following words may be singular or plural depending upon their usage in the sentence. For an example, some, any, all, most. Right. Any, let me tell you, usually anything, anybody, these two are used only and only in singular subjects, okay, with the singular verb. For an example, most of the news is good. Now, we talk about most. Most is the subject that shows more than one person or more than one object. But we are talking about most of the news. News is a singular collective noun. So that noun will go with singular verb. And that is why we have used is. So most of the news is good. Okay, that is the correct way. Most of the flowers were yellow. Exactly, flowers can be countable, right? And this is a countable noun, plural noun. So that's why we have to use here were. Most of the flowers were yellow. You may have a question, ma'am, why do we have in the first sentence used is and in the next sentence we have used a plural verb were? But there is a difference. You need to understand this. News is a collective noun which is always going with a singular verb. Most of the news is good. Most of the news is correct. Right? But most of the flowers were yellow. That means more flowers were yellow. That means more than one flowers were yellow. Okay, got it? Now, rule number 5. Subjects joined by and are plural. Subjects joined by or nor take a verb that agrees with the last subject. For an example, Bob and George are leaving. This is very natural, very simple example. We cannot write Bob and George is leaving. Incorrect. So what is correct? Bob and George are leaving. These two are a plural subject, more than one subject, right? Look at the next example. Neither Bob nor George is leaving. Children, please remember both either or and neither nor depicts only one choice, only one option, only one alternate. For an example, when I say either Sanya or Sahil goes for the competition, I repeat, either Sanya or Sahil goes for the competition from class 8A. Right? If I say either Sanya or Sahil go for the competition from class 8A, that is going to be the wrong sentence. Right? So please remember either or and neither nor, these are the correlative connectors, right? And they always work in pair. So what happens here? Since they show only one choice, there is only a space for singular verb. All right? So they are always agreed with a singular verb. So neither Bob nor George is leaving. Right? Therefore, the second example is also correct. Rule number 6. There and here are never subjects in sentences that begin with these words. The subject is usually found later in the sentences. Okay, let's read the next example. There were 5 books on the shelf. Okay, so there is not a subject here. What becomes the subject? 5 books, right? There were 5 books on the subject. It will be wrong to say there was 5 books on the shelf or there is 5 books on the shelf. Both the subjects with the verb that they want to agree are incorrect. So what are the correct verbs for this sort of sentence? There were 5 books. Or perhaps there are 5 books. Okay? Right. Rule number 7. Collective nouns may be singular in the sentences. For an example, the orchestra is playing a hit song. Yes, orchestra is a collective noun, like audience. Yes, so they are usually taken like the news. Just before some time, we saw one collective noun, news. News is always treated as a singular noun, so we always use is. Similarly, for orchestra, that is the group of more than one person, more than one musician, somebody who plays the instrument, right? But they are taken as orchestra, is. It is treated as a singular noun, singular subject. So the orchestra is playing a hit song. Cannot say the orchestra are playing a hit song. Only apart from exceptional cases, orchestra is always is. Right. Rule number 8. Some nouns, while plural in form, are actually singular. For an example, mathematics is a tough subject, right? Statistics, economics is a tough subject. Economics is to do with the economy, right? So do not think any noun that takes s in the end, that means plural only. Okay, there are some nouns, they can really dupe you if you are not careful, and you end up writing the wrong verb. Mathematics are a tough subject. Is it a correct sentence? No. The correct sentence is mathematics is tough subject for some people. Easy for some people. Okay? Right. Rule number 9 says doesn't is a contraction of does not, and don't is a contraction of do not. Okay? And they are always, especially doesn't is used with a singular noun. Just now I gave you an example. Mary doesn't sing good. Right? Should I say Mary don't sing good? That is a wrong verb with the subject Mary. Right? So the right verb for the subject Mary is doesn't. So do not get misled and confused between these two. For an example, let's say he doesn't like it. She doesn't like it. Whereas I don't like it. They don't like it. My parents don't like it. But my sister doesn't like it. Okay? So please be mindful about these. You already use it in your, your routine communication in language in English. So I don't think in this rules you are likely to make mistake apart from those where you really need to be careful. The last rule says nouns such as civics, mathematics, dollars, news, right? They all require singular verb because they are collective nouns, some of them, right? Okay. $1 million is needed to renovate that building. You see, subject and verb agreement is one of the most basic parts of English grammar and commonly repeated in exam. Children, it is, though it is not a rocket science for you to understand, the rules are a little trickier for subject and verb agreement. So they have to be learnt properly. I tell you, the reason why you have to learn them properly is if you using wrong English when you speak, you are likely to use wrong English when you write, because your speaking skills, they influence your writing skills. Okay, so you better learn to speak correct English, and therefore it will help you to write correct English, right? And subject and verb agreement, it's like if you do not know how to use the tenses properly, then grammatically the writing comes out in a wrong manner, you see. So therefore you need to learn the subject and verb agreement also. It affects your writing. You should know which subject to use with which verb. Okay, now you see, reviewing and practicing all these rules written above along with few questions for each of you will help you fully understand your subject and verb agreement and avoid many of the common mistakes that occur in exam. Okay, there are a few things that I wanted to tell you. Finally, subject and verb agreement, subject and verb concord is one of the most basic parts of English grammar and commonly repeated in exams. So you get to review them, because apart from exams, learning the concord between both the verb and the subject can enable one to speak English quite correctly. Right, now subject and verb agreement, let's say singular indefinite pronouns. For an example, two words, each. Please remember this. Each one, everyone, either, neither, everyone, everybody. And all those that are listed here always go with a singular noun mandatorily. Please remember that. For an example, each of these hot dogs is juicy. Yes, because we are talking about each one of the hot dogs. That means all of them. But you're talking about them one by one, right? So that's why you use singular noun. Everybody knows Mr. John. Okay. Everybody know Mr. Jones. Wrong. It has to be everybody knows Mr. Jones. Similarly, neither of them is available. Either of us is capable. Right? Now, another rule, that is with plural subjects such as all, some, one third, and of all her books, none have sold as well as the first one. Right. Now, technically, with none is a singular subject that takes a singular verb. But here, find out the proper subject as I suggested the steps, right? None have sold as well as the first one. The subject is plural. None and the first one, right? So somebody is talking about someone's books. Not the first one and none any other that came followed. Okay, so that's why we are using the plural verb here. Have, are, don't, they are all plural verbs meant for plural subjects, plural nouns. Right. All of the pie is gone. All of the pies are gone. Please note the difference. Pie, pies. Some of the pie, that means we are only talking about some part of the pie, perhaps 1/4. Okay, that is missing. But some of the pies are missing, are gone. Let's say 1/3 of the garbage is picked up. It will be wrong to say 1/3 of garbage are picked up. Wrong, because we are talking about a very small part of that garbage heap. Okay, so please read all of them. Now, how the subject and verb agreement works with either or and neither nor. We had already talked about it, that both either or and neither nor takes only singular subject. Either you or he hates swimming. That means we are talking either about you or about him. Only one person is being talked about. So, if the subject is singular, it will take a singular verb, right? For an example, John or his father wants to get a puppy for Christmas, right? They have given you a blank here. They may ask you, fill in the blank with the proper form of verb. So this blank is of subject and verb agreement. John or his father, okay, wants to get a puppy. Wrong to say John or his father want to get a puppy, because they both are, considered for taking a puppy one by one. It will be either John or his father. Right. Now, similarly, with or and nor, when a compound subject contains nouns, pronouns joined by or nor, the verb should agree with the part of the subject that is nearer to the verb. Please be mindful of this. The boy or his friends run every day. Okay. Now, let's say here you have to take in account his friends. The boy or his friends run every day. Now this is but natural. We are talking about either the boy or his friends. Okay. See, if the sentence was like the boy and his friends run every day, it was the easiest for you to come to know that yes, this is a plural subject. But here it is given in a tricky manner. See, the boy or his friends run every day. So that's the correct sentence. Let's put it the other way around. His friends or the boy runs every day. Right? So here what they have taken? The nearer subject. Here the nearer subject to the verb is the boy. Okay. In the previous sentence, the nearer subject was his friend. So that's why it has taken the plural one, and in the last sentence it has taken the singular verb. Now let's take a look at those singular and the plural verb. Singular is, does, has, okay, and mainly plural verbs are, do, and have. Apart from these three verbs, all other modal auxiliaries such as can, could, may, might, must, will, should, would, they can get along with all singular subjects and plural subjects. For an example, you can say they should. Similarly, he should. There are no proper rules as to why they cannot be utilized with plural or singular, because they are allowed to be used with both singular and plural subjects. Okay? It's not that she, you cannot use should or must with she. You can use. But with they also, you can use should and must. So there are no certain rules to use modal auxiliaries. The other helping verbs, mainly three, is, are, have, has, do, and does. They are known as helping verbs. Okay, so you have to be careful in using those helping verbs plus the verbs that take s or es at the end of the verb. Okay, so here I end this video, and I'm going to assign you your practice worksheets also from your Me and Mine book soon. Please look for the prep for today. Thank you.